The heat rolling off the Phoenix pavement outside was nothing compared to the suffocating silence inside my mother's dining room. I sat frozen, staring down at Aunt Valerie's cracked phone screen. There they were. My mother, my brother Spencer, and his fiancée Brooke, all throwing their heads back in laughter against the bright blue cliffs of Santorini. Greece? They looked incredibly happy on the luxury vacation I helped fund with $8,500. The same vacation they swore to me was happening next month. Aunt Valerie quickly yanked the phone away, but the damage was already done. The silverware stopped clinking. The entire table held its breath. My mother slowly placed her fork down on the floral tablecloth. Completely unbothered, she leaned back, looked right into my eyes, and sighed. She told me I was too gloomy to be fun on a beach anyway. She said they needed a break from my negativity and that I should just be happy they got to relax. I swallowed the thick, jagged knot in my throat and kept my eyes locked on hers. My chest tightened until it physically ached. In that suffocating quiet, the absolute truth finally snapped into place. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out the front door without saying a single word. The drive back to my apartment was a blur of neon streetlights and blinding headlights. I am 28 years old. I work as a paralegal, a job that requires me to be meticulous, deeply organized, and entirely devoid of emotion when handling high-conflict situations. For the last 6 years, I have applied those exact skills to keeping my family afloat. I was not a daughter or a sister. I was an automatic teller machine with a pulse, sitting in the dark of my living room. I treated my family like a hostile case file. I opened my laptop and started pulling up the bank statements. Rent for Spencer's apartment when he was between jobs. Dental bills for my mother. Car insurance for a vehicle I do not even drive. I stared at the thousands of dollars bleeding out of my life, year after year, and a terrifying clarity washed over me. Toxic parents do not see the responsible child as a human being with feelings. They see us as an appliance. We exist purely for utility. When a refrigerator breaks down or stops dispensing ice, you do not sit on the floor and comfort it. You kick the door. You complain about the inconvenience, and you demand it be fixed. My mother was not sorry about stealing my vacation money because she fundamentally did not believe I was entitled to a seat at the table I paid for. My sadness evaporated instantly. A cold, calculated, professional fury took its place. They broke my heart at that dinner table. But today, I was the one holding the hammer. The surgical removal of my financial safety net began at 8 o'clock the next morning. I focused my attention on the family crisis account. It was originally a custodial college fund my mother opened when I was a teenager. But she hijacked it years ago, manipulating me into depositing a portion of my paychecks there to build family wealth. The balance sat at slightly over $15,000. A lesser person would have transferred the entire amount in a fit of rage, opening themselves up to a messy civil lawsuit for unjust enrichment. I am a paralegal. I do not leave legal loopholes. I drove to a physical bank branch, sat down with a personal banker, and handed over my identification. I provided a meticulously highlighted ledger proving my exact payroll deposits over the last 6 years. The total came to exactly $14,958.88. I requested a cashier's check for that exact amount. I left precisely $41.12 in the account. That was my mother's total contribution over half a decade. I then forced the banker to formally remove my name from the account, leaving my mother as the sole owner of a completely empty, fee-accruing shell. By noon, I had canceled the family auto insurance policy and severed the joint cell phone plan. 3 days later, the fallout arrived at my doorstep. Spencer pounded on my apartment door, his face flushed with anger. He demanded I turn his phone back on and stop throwing a massive tantrum over a stupid trip. He pointed his finger in my face, telling me I was acting like a child. I looked at the golden boy, stripped of his free ride, and felt absolutely nothing. I told him his subscription to my bank account had officially expired. I shut the heavy wooden door right in his face, slid the deadbolt into place, and blocked his number. A full month passed. I broke my lease, packed my belongings, and moved to a new apartment across town, leaving no forwarding address. The silence in my new home was beautiful. No emergency texts asking for cash. No guilt-tripping phone calls about broken appliances. I genuinely believed I had won. I thought the cord was cut forever. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, an alert pinged on my credit monitoring application. A hard inquiry had been placed on my file by a federal lending group. Someone had applied for a $30,000 personal loan in my name. My blood ran ice cold. I immediately started digging through the lender's automated system. It did not take long to uncover the truth. My mother, desperate to fund the lavish wedding venue she promised Brooke and Spencer, had dug through her archives. She did not just find a random piece of paper. She accessed the shared desktop computer in her home office, the one I used to file my taxes before I moved out. She used my saved browser autofill credentials, an old W-2 form, and a stored digital scan of my driver's license to bypass the bank's identity verification checks. She forged my electronic signature to secure the loan, but her supreme arrogance was her fatal flaw. She listed my actual cell phone number as the secondary verification contact on the application. She was entirely confident that when the bank called, I would panic, fall in line, and confirm the fraudulent loan just to protect the family reputation. She thought her control over me was absolute. The phone rang 30 minutes later. A low-level verification representative from the lending group asked if I had 5 minutes to confirm the details of my recent application. I did not cower. I did not argue with the representative. I calmly requested an immediate escalation to a fraud specialist, stating clearly and firmly that I was the victim of identity theft and federal tax fraud. The specialist took over the call, their tone shifting to strict professionalism, and provided me with a secure, encrypted upload link. I did not hesitate. I uploaded a massive, meticulously compiled portable document format file. It contained the online police report number I had filed the moment the credit alert pinged, the forged tax documents, digital footprints tying the application to my mother's home network, and a sworn, notarized affidavit of forgery. I grounded my revenge in ironclad. Undeniable federal procedure. While the upload progress bar filled my screen, I opened my email client. I attached the exact same fraud dossier to a new message. I added my mother, my brother Spencer, and his fiancée Brooke to the recipient list. I did not write a long, emotional paragraph. I did not scream in capital letters. I simply wrote that the authorities had been notified of the $30,000 fraud attempt and that all future communication must go through my legal counsel. I hit send. The trap snapped shut. I pictured my mother opening that email. The sheer, suffocating panic gripping her throat as she realized she was no longer dealing with a compliant daughter, but with the full weight of the federal legal system. The consequences were swift, brutal, and entirely out of my hands. Aunt Valerie left a frantic, breathless voicemail on my phone the following morning. She admitted she had purposely left her phone screen unlocked at the dinner table because she was sick of my mother's lies. hoping I would see the vacation photos and figure it out myself. But her supposed bravery had vanished. She was terrified because my mother, facing severe federal charges, was frantically trying to drag Valerie's name into the fraud investigation as an accomplice to save her own skin. Valerie begged me to call the police and clear her name. I deleted the voicemail. I realized then that even the supposed allies in a toxic family only care about saving their own skin. I left Valerie to face the monster she had helped enable for decades. 2 days later, Brooke canceled the wedding entirely. Upon seeing the undeniable documented proof of her future mother-in-law's felony fraud and her fiancé's complicity in stealing my money, she packed her bags and left Spencer standing in an empty apartment. The illusion of their perfect life was shattered. A final, vitriolic email arrived from Spencer late that night. He blamed me for destroying his life, bankrupting our parents, and tearing the family apart over money. He called me a monster. I read the email twice, feeling a profound sense of peace settle over my shoulders. I hit reply and typed a single line. You said I was too gloomy for the family, so enjoy the sunshine. I deleted the thread, emptied the trash folder, and completely severed the cord. The aftermath of cutting off your entire family is not something you see in movies. There is no grand parade. There is no swelling background music. There is just you standing in a quiet kitchen, making a cup of coffee, realizing that nobody is going to ask you for anything today, and tomorrow, nobody is going to ask you for anything either. It is a terrifying, beautiful emptiness when you spend your entire adult life acting as the shock absorber for other people's dysfunction. Peace initially feels like boredom. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. You keep waiting for the crisis. But the crisis never comes because you finally locked the door and kept the key. If you are listening to this and your stomach is tied in knots because my story sounds a little too familiar, I need you to hear what I am about to say. I need to break down the psychological wreckage of being the family scapegoat. Because the narcissism required to steal from your own child and feel justified doing it is a very specific type of poison. It takes years to unlearn the lies they programmed into you. But you have to start today. I want to give you the 3 rules that saved my life. The rules I had to learn by walking through the fire. Rule number 1 is the appliance theory of love. You need to look very closely at how your family interacts with you. If they only reach out when they need a bill paid, a mess cleaned up, a ride to the airport, or a scapegoat to blame their failures on, they do not love you. They love what you provide. You are a utility to them. You are the electricity keeping their house warm. And when you decide to stop working, when you finally set a boundary and say no, they will not comfort you. They will not ask why you are hurting. They will be outraged that their favorite appliance has stopped dispensing favors. Their love is entirely conditional on your submission. Recognize the difference between being valued as a person and being utilized as a tool. Rule number 2 is the myth of the high road. Society loves to tell victims of family abuse to take the high road. They tell you to be the bigger person. They tell you to forgive and forget because holding on to anger is toxic. But let me tell you the absolute truth about toxic people. They rely on you taking the high road so they have more room to operate in the gutter. They weaponize your empathy and your guilt against you. They know you will not call the police. They know you will not demand the money back. They know you will suffer in silence to protect the family image. Sometimes the absolute highest road you can take is a legal one. Holding someone completely and totally accountable for their actions is not cruelty. It is justice. To an entitled person, accountability feels like an attack. Let them feel attacked. You are not responsible for shielding them from the consequences of their own horrific behavior. Rule number 3 is the price of peace. Walking away from your blood relatives will initially feel like a massive betrayal. You will feel guilty. The culture tells us that family is everything, that blood is thicker than water, and that you only get one mother or one brother. But true family does not require you to set yourself on fire just to keep them warm. True family does not steal your joy, your money, or your future. Blood is merely a biological coincidence. Loyalty, respect, and mutual care are what make a family. You are allowed to walk away from people who hurt you. Even if you share a last name, you are allowed to prioritize your own mental health over their comfort. The price of peace is high. It costs you the illusion of the family you always wanted. But what you buy with that grief is a future where you belong to yourself. I want you to look at the people you are currently carrying on your back, the people you are exhausted from supporting. Are they holding your hand? Or are they picking your pocket? Have you ever had to buy your way into your own family's affection? Have you ever subsidized their happiness while they ignored your pain? Let me know in the comments below. Share your story, because there is power in realizing you are not alone in this fight. The isolation is how they keep you trapped. Break the silence. And if you are finally ready to stop paying for people who do not value your existence, subscribe to this channel. We are building a community of people who choose their own peace over toxic loyalty. My name is Natalie, and for the first time in my entire life, I am completely, unshakably free. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are throwing your hands up asking, why on earth did she wait so long? Why did she pay her brother's rent? Why did she stay on a joint bank account for 6 long years? Let us take a breath and break this down. Because Natalie was not stupid. She was conditioned. In psychology, there is a concept called the slot machine effect, formerly known as intermittent reinforcement. When you are the designated ATM of a toxic family, they do not just take your money every single day. If they were cruel 100% of the time, you would leave. Instead, they give you tiny, rare crumbs of approval, a fake smile at a Sunday dinner, a rare compliment about your reliability. That crumb acts like a jackpot on a casino slot machine. You keep pulling the lever, pouring your money, your time, and your emotional energy into the machine, addicted to the desperate hope that one day you will finally hit the jackpot of unconditional love. Natalie was not paying for their bills. She was trying to buy her way into her own family. But when the illusion shattered, Natalie executed a masterclass in financial self-defense. If you ever find yourself in a financial hostage situation, take notes on her execution. First, look at what I call the audit strategy. When she emptied that joint account, her anger told her to take every single penny. But her street smarts took over. She withdrew exactly $14,958.88, leaving her mother's exact contribution of $41.12. Scammers and entitled people hate precise details. By doing the math, Natalie completely destroyed any chance her mother had to sue her in civil court for unjust enrichment. She protected her assets with data, not emotion. Second, she mastered building the case. When the federal loan fraud alert pinged, Natalie did not call her mother to scream and cry. Toxic people feed on your emotional reactions. Instead, she went silent and built a dossier. She gathered the forged W-2 form, filed an immediate police report, and packaged it for the bank investigator. You never fight financial abuse with feelings. You fight it with undeniable receipts. Finally, she executed the buyout, Natalie recognized that walking away, changing her number, and severing all ties was the ultimate investment in her freedom. She handed the fraud over to the federal government and walked away. Sometimes, taking the financial hit or walking away from your childhood foundation is just the price you pay to buy back the rest of your life. Months later, I learned that freedom does not always feel like victory at first. Sometimes it feels like standing alone in a quiet kitchen, waiting for a phone that never rings. No emergency rent request. No guilt-soaked voicemail. No brother pounding on the door because his free ride suddenly ended. Just silence. At first, that silence scared me. Then one morning, while making coffee in my new apartment, I realized the silence was not emptiness. It was peace. My mother's case dragged through the system, but the damage was already done. The lender closed the fraud file in my favor. The attempted loan was blocked before a single dollar touched her hands. Spencer lost Brooke, the wedding, and the comfortable fantasy that someone else would always clean up his mess. Aunt Valerie stopped calling after she realized I would not rescue her from the monster she helped feed. And me, I stopped being available. That was the real ending. Not revenge, not screaming, not begging them to understand what they had done. The real ending was removing my name from every account, every plan, every obligation, and every emotional trap they had built around me. For the first time in my adult life, my paycheck belonged to me, my evenings belonged to me, my future belonged to me. People like my mother do not mourn the child they hurt. They mourn the appliance that stopped working. They miss the money, the obedience, the silence, the convenience. They call it family because family sounds softer than exploitation. But I know the truth now. If someone only loves you when you are useful, that is not love. That is a service contract, and you are allowed to cancel it. I still think about that dinner sometimes. The heat outside, the coldness inside, the way my mother looked me in the eye and told me I was too gloomy for the vacation I paid for. That sentence used to break my heart. Now it makes me smile, because she was right about one thing. I did not belong on that trip. I belonged somewhere better, somewhere honest, somewhere quiet, somewhere no one could steal from me and call it loyalty. So if you are listening to this while carrying a family that never carries you back, I need you to hear me clearly. You are not selfish for protecting your money. You are not cruel for filing a fraud report. You are not dramatic for cutting off people who only remember you when something needs to be paid. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your life just because you share blood. Take the statements, save the receipts, change the passwords, freeze the credit, close the accounts. Let them call you cold if they want to. Sometimes becoming cold is what saves you from being burned over and over again. And when they accuse you of destroying the family, remember this: you did not destroy anything real. You only stopped funding the illusion. If this story hit close to home, tell me in the comments, have you ever been treated like the family ATM? When did you finally cut the cord? Drop a black heart if you have ever had to choose peace over toxic loyalty. And subscribe for more stories about quiet revenge, hard boundaries, and the moment the responsible one finally walks away. Here is the final verdict. You cannot buy respect, and loyalty is not a subscription service. If someone only values you for the debts you settle and the messes you clean up, they do not love you. Your financial security is your armor. Do not let anyone, especially someone sharing your last name, convince you to take it off. Have you ever had to financially untangle yourself from a toxic family member or friend? How did you finally break free? Let me know in the comments below. And if this breakdown gave you the clarity you needed today, hit that subscribe button. We are here to help you protect your peace, your boundaries, and your wallet. Stay smart. And I will see you in the next one.